Our next speaker, because we have one more and then we're going to have a little break. I'm delighted to introduce or to welcome Sarah EchoHawk. Sarah's here with us. There you are. Great. Okay. Sarah is the Chief Executive Officer of the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, AISIS. I should know how to pronounce that
because
okay. Yeah,
it happens a lot.
Right, but more than that, Sarah, what I also have here is all the effort that you, and maybe this is a lot of what you're going to share, have done in really finding ways to motivate and enhance the careers of students who are Native Americans in engineering, both students and faculty. And I know there's many other things, but thank you so much for that. So without any further ado, Sarah, I'm just going to turn it over to you and thank you for being here with us. Okay.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen here and hope that this works. Hopefully everybody's seeing the right screen, but certainly let me know if you're not seeing the display screen. Nawa, hello, I'm Sarah EchoHawk. As noted, I'm the CEO of the American Indian Science and Engineering Society. We just call it ACES because that's a mouthful. I'm also a citizen of the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma, so that's my tribal affiliation. Given that we are a little short on time, I'm going to run through these very quickly, but happy to share the deck and happy to follow up with questions down the road, certainly via email or other ways. So I will go quickly. But don't worry, because you'll have access if you need it. So first, just briefly, I wanted to talk a bit about ACES, just so clear about what we do, and then talk a little bit about the NSF-supported research projects that we've been working on. So we were founded in '77, and as noted, we're an Indigenous-led nonprofit organization, so been around for 45 years. When we say originally, yes, in our name, it's American Indian, but we actually work with Indigenous peoples in North America, so the US and Canada, and then also in the Pacific Islands. We work in 3 focus areas: student access and success, which is our way of helping our students ensure that they're going to be successful starting in PK all the way through graduate studies. So a lot of support there. And then moving on into career support and development. So once they're getting ready for their career and going into the career field, we continue to provide a network with a lot of support services. And then finally, I kind of think of this as the flip side to what ACES does. And this is really about the institutions, whether they're educational, higher ed, PK through 12, whether it's all of the workplaces or workspaces, so corporate, government, tribal, all of those. So what we know is that we can provide all of these resources to our students and to our professionals. We can give them all these resources, but if they're going into environments, either educational or into their careers, these environments that aren't supportive of Indigenous people, then they're not gonna succeed, regardless of how much support we provided them as individuals. So we do have a vast network of employers, of colleges, universities, PK through 12 schools that we work with to try to ensure that those provide an equitable and inclusive workspace and education space. Quickly, what is kind of a snapshot of ACES? So we do have college chapters throughout the US and Canada, about 198. We also have PK through 12 affiliated schools, about 230 of those. I think it says K through 12. It's actually PK through 12. And that's roughly about 50 to 60,000 Native students or Indigenous students that are in those schools. We also have tribally chartered chapters. Those are just getting going, so we have a few of those. And we have professional chapters, so 18 of those. We're a big scholarship provider, believe it or not, with our 13 million in scholarships, and that's only $1 million annually on average. We're one of the larger scholarship providers for Indigenous students, which is kind of speaks to the need there. Our annual budget is about $10 million. We have about 43 employees, I believe, now. Wanted to point this out. This is an excellent resource because I know part of this is about talking about where our resources. So one of the resources you can look at is our Winds of Change magazine. I've provided the web address, but you can always just type in Winds of Change magazine ACES and it'll come up. We have several digital issues and print issues that come out, and right now we're working on a research component that will be part of that. But also wanted to note that each year we do one issue that has the top 50 workplaces for Indigenous STEM professionals and the top 200 colleges and universities actually for Indigenous peoples as well. And that's done by a lot of different criteria that we explain, of course, in the magazine. So another good resource there as well. Just wanted to put in here that our national conference is this year is coming up in October in Palm Springs. There's a little information here. Again, everything on the website. If you're interested, we do host the largest college and career fair for universities and colleges looking to attract Indigenous students and employers looking to attract Indigenous professionals. So we have the largest fair in what we call Indian country, which is a legal term, but basically for Indigenous peoples. So getting on to our NSF supported projects, I just wanted to go through these quickly. Again, a lot more information is available on these, and I've provided links. And at the end of these remaining slides, I will provide the contact information for those within ACES that you can contact to learn more either about these specific projects, or if you're interested in partnering with ACES along these same lines in that PK through 12 space or college or career pathways, etc. I'll provide that information as well. So I won't go through these because I'm going to go by slides, but you can see these are the ones that I'm going to talk about here. So first off, and I saw that Dr. Silovich from Northeastern was part of this, as is Dr. Mia Ong from Turk. So some of these may have been discussed already, I'm not sure, so I won't. I just want to point that out, that I'm aware that we have other folks that may have been involved in some of these projects. So first off is the 50K Coalition in a nutshell, and I put the website here if you want to learn more, but that was really the four of the professional societies, NSBE, SWE-SHIP, and ACES coming together towards this very ambitious goal of graduating a 66% increase in engineers by 2025 in our communities. And so there's a link there, and NSF has funded that, or initially funded that, as others have come in. Kind of as an outgrowth of that then is this Engineering Plus project that's currently hosted by Northeastern, and they received a large NSF Includes Alliance grant for that. So we're a small part of that, along with a lot of others. But that's really kind of building and expanding much beyond what we had done at the 50K. And again, there's some information there for how to do that. But it's really, again, about increasing the number of engineering graduates in these different communities, underrepresented communities. NSF iTest is a 4-year, $1.4 million grant. We're partnered with the Caper Center on this particular grant. The pilot year was funded by Reboot Representation, for those of you who are familiar with that, working with 2 high schools right in Indian country in Native communities. And this is really about a sequence of 3 tribe-specific and gender-responsive, culturally relevant computer science courses. Because while we know, right, that there's all of this focus on computer science and tech going forward, computer engineering, again, we're very vastly underrepresented in that. And so how do we get more Indigenous people, and particularly girls, prepared to go into computer science, computer engineering? So more information on that. There's a link, and of course, like I said, I'm going to share the deck, but there's more information about that one as well. We also have a literature review. This is available just on our little resource center on our website that we took. Dr. Kathy Derenwater on our staff was funded by NSF to do this, really to get a better understanding of the strategies that are known to improve the educational outcome of Native students. So, and when you see IAIN, that's Alaska Native, American Indian. But she put together this fantastic literature review that's available, and you can look at that just by going to our website and our resource center. There are recommendations included in that, obviously. So another project funded by NSF, Lighting the Pathways to Faculty Careers for Natives in STEM. Really want to see tenure track Indigenous faculty at universities. So this was funded initially in, I want to say 2013, and then we got a second round of support in 2019. So we're almost going on 10 years with this project, and there is a lot of data and information that will be forthcoming in this community report that will be made available to the general public, basically, again, through our website, and people can access that. But it has been going very well. We've learned a lot and want to be able to share that broadly in terms of what we did with this program, what we learned, how it can be replicated. And there are also, of course, then strategies in there that don't necessarily have to be used for this specific program, but can be used in other programs and other ways to get more Native people engaged in any of the STEM careers, and hopefully on that tenure track pathway. And then the Native STEM portraits. This is with Turk, which I know, again, Dr. Mia Ong, I know is part of this project. So I have a link down there for more information about this. But very similar here is to identify and make visible how Native STEM students, faculty, professionals encounter, navigate, respond to, and change, and are changed by culture, systems, and processes that either support or hinder the persistence of Native individuals in STEM higher education. So again, really trying to understand what we need to do to make our students and professionals successful. And so that's part of this project. We partnered with Turk, and like as you saw earlier, we partnered with Kapoor, and we partner with a lot of others doing this kind of work. And so we're very interested in collaboration and partnership with those that are interested. We're small and we are a society, right? So we're not a large higher educational institution or anything like that, but we can certainly be partners and have access to the communities where this research is being conducted or should be conducted. And then finally, as I mentioned, these are the contacts within our organization. If you're interested in learning more about partnership or where to get resources or just having a conversation, I encourage you to reach out to Dr. Deernwater or Dr. Smith. Additionally, you may want to look at Dr. Smith's dissertation. It's around a lot of what we were just talking about, so we're really happy to add her to the team fairly recently. And between her, Dr. Smith and Dr. Deernwater will be hoping to be building out the research portion of what ACES is doing and continue to grow that. Because, as I will say in closing, as Indigenous peoples, as the first Americans, right, often we have these conversations around racial equity, and we're generally left out. So one of our biggest challenges is invisibility. We just generally aren't in the conversation. So I appreciate being invited to this symposium. I appreciate people thinking about including Indigenous peoples. We are here, and we are trying to do the same kind of work that you all are trying to do, and we always appreciate being at the table in those discussions and being part of that research. Far too often, research has been conducted by non-Indigenous peoples, and funding goes to non-Indigenous peoples as well to conduct research about us. Well, we're here. We want to be part of that research, so please reach out to us. And with that, I will end it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, one of the questions I was going to ask you already just answered, right? I was going to ask what you would consider to be probably the major challenges, right, that you have. And if I understood you correctly, it's just people need to see you. Is that when you mentioned
Yes.
it? Is that correct? Can you elaborate a little bit on
and
that, though? I think that's really important. Yes, go ahead.
It is. Well, and I was going to say, our numbers are small, so a lot of times when I am trying to, interact in these different spaces, we often are told like, oh, well, you're such a small percentage of the population, you don't really count. It's not worth our investment. There's no ROI. And so it is like we are constantly up against the struggle, and the lack of data that is there for our people is also minuscule. And even if it is there, we're often just categorized as other. And again, that's not the way it should be, right? We really need to be included. We need to be part of this. We're here. We're available. We need, I think, what we need and what I ask of all of you, and people interested in working in diversity in engineering or any of the STEM fields, is that if you notice there are not Indigenous people present in these conversations, to stand up and say, we really should have somebody from our Indigenous community here as well. So that really helps us, and that's like projects like the 50K Coalition and the Engineering Plus and these other partnerships really start to raise our visibility and show that there is value and that we can be represented in this, and that research really needs to be done in conjunction with our people, not for our people. That hasn't worked out so well for us historically. So
now these NSF programs, in the absence of those, the situation would be even more dire. Is that correct? I mean,
that is correct. So NSF, and early on when I joined this organization about 9 years ago, was one of the first big partners to step up and say, we want to support this. We realize that there's value here, and what can we do? And so that was that first project that NSA, the Pathways to Faculty, right? And since then has been an ongoing partner with us and really has supported us in the development of our research team and the research coming out of ACES and facilitating those partnerships. So it's been invaluable. Absolutely.
Which of these programs, not that you would have to choose necessarily, do you think has been the most effective? And maybe, yeah.
Well, I would definitely, there's so many, they're all amazing, as you noted. And we have other research projects too that are also funded by additional funders. But I would say the NSA Pathways program that's about developing Indigenous tenured faculty has been tremendously successful. We've learned a lot. I would love to see that scaled and broadened. We need more Indigenous faculty if we're going to continue to want to grow and change these numbers. The other one is the 50K Coalition and kind of that Engineering Plus extension of that, because what that does is it brings together different communities, different underrepresented communities in a collaborative way to think about these issues and how we can work together. There are some commonalities. Of course, there are vast differences, but it really helps if you can get a critical mass right around these issues and if we can work together to look at those challenges.
Yeah, no, I think, well, critical mass, what you just said is really key, right? Because at some point, even if it is in small numbers, there are tipping points, right?
Right.
Where people have enough or see enough to where that starts propagating. So,
exactly.
Sarah, will you be able to join us and stay for the discussion?
I will not, and I apologize.
Okay.
I have another meeting to get on to, but again, have my contact information, have the contact information of my colleagues. Happy to follow up with a phone call or a meeting with anybody who's interested. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, though. We really appreciate you being here with us, okay?
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay, so we have a break right now, and the way I see the schedule is we have a break till 4:50, I believe. So we've got about 15 minutes here. So let's just everybody take the break, and then we'll be back with our last two presenters, and then we move into our discussion session. Okay.